Amplify your career through training and development solutions specifically designed for federal government professionals. From courses to help you attain or retain certification, to individualized coaching services, to programs that hone your leadership skills and business acumen, Management Concepts optimizes your professional development. Online, in person, individually, or groups, it's training that's measurably better. Learn more at managementconcepts.com. That's managementconcepts.com.
Does an orthopedic condition or sports injury have you sidelined? Make your comeback with GW Hospital Sports Medicine. We offer services from neck to toe, including care for shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, and hands. Plus, we're the official healthcare partner of GW Athletics, the DC Furies, and the DC Revolution. Get back to doing the things you love. Learn more at gwhospital.com/sportsmed or call 888-4GW-DOCS. Physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital.
All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast, Grace Under Pressure. Today, I'm joined by one of my friends that I've met through jiu-jitsu competition, Miss Jackie Shaeffer. Jackie, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, well, me too. Well, for our listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself, rank, where you train out of, those sorts of things.
Well, my name is Jackie. I am a purple belt. I just got my purple belt last July, and I've been very lucky, and I've had one home gym these past 6 years. I train at Elevate in Midlothian, Texas, which is kind of southwest of Dallas, I think it is. I feel bad that I'm not a Texas native, so I still get mixed up with geography and where things are sometimes. But I train there, and I just have a really great group of people there. And I mean, it's sometimes it feels really wild to me that I've been doing it this long, when I'm like, I've actually been doing it for about 6 years now, when it just feels like yesterday I was going on the mat for the very first time.
So you said you're not a Texas native. So what brought you to Texas?
Well, I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised. Most of my family is actually still up there. At the time, I had moved down here with my adopted parents because they bought a piece of land, and they had this dream where there was enough acreage where myself and my adopted brothers and sisters could each have our houses on it. We could just kind of live together but separately, and that didn't really go so well. We kind of went our different ways. Some things happened with that. But I decided to stay in Texas because I loved it here. I grew my community here. I have really good friends here, established a career here. So I definitely didn't want to live anywhere else besides here for right now.
I gotcha. And I know it's probably a lot warmer in the winters than in Chicago.
I mean, definitely so. Even though we've had a couple of freezes here recently that are kind of like, you know what, this is kind of like home, even if it's just for a week when everything closes down because it's so icy and they're just not equipped to throw salt on it and get the roads prepared for the next day. It's wild.
Yeah. It's when it gets cold down here in the South, we don't know what to do. But so I mean, 6 years, that's great. That's about as long as I've been training too. And it just a snap. It doesn't feel that long.
It really doesn't.
So, I mean, 6 years ago, what drew you to jiu-jitsu? That's sometimes not the first go-to for a lot of women. So what drew you there?
It was actually, my daughter had been doing jiu-jitsu first.
Oh.
At the time, I think she was just ending her kindergarten year, going to first grade, but she was having trouble with this boy kind of in her grade, picking on her, hitting her a lot, and we just wanted her to be kind of like more assertive and sure of herself. And my husband at the time, now ex-husband, he wanted to get her in some sort of mixed martial arts, some sort of martial art, and he looked up a gym, and that's where she wound up going. And she really liked it. We saw that big change in her where she's like, oh, I can do this. And she trained for a bit, and afterwards the gym that she was going to, they hosted a women's self-defense seminar. And I forgot where exactly the donations went to, and it's probably horrible to say because I know they went to some sort of charity organization that was local. But I went, and it was great being around all these ladies, and we were just talking and learning basic moves for protection. And they mentioned that a lot of the things that they taught us were jujitsu based. And so I asked, about maybe trying a class that next week. And I went and did my first class, and I went on the side with one of the black belts teaching me basic movements and teaching me how to shrimp. And then I've never went off the mats since.
Wow, you just got bit by the bug. I love it.
I just got bit by it. My daughter doesn't do it anymore. And but I'm the one that stayed in it like for the long haul.
Oh yes. About to say 6 years. That is definitely in for the long haul.
Yeah.
So I mean, what keeps you like so invested in jiu-jitsu? What keeps you coming? Why were you able to beat the blue belt blues,
I mean, I definitely got hit by the blue belt blues, but I think because I kept myself so busy, because blue belt was the 3 years that I was competing so much all the time. I just always felt like there was another goal that I had to reach. And I loved my training partners. I loved my team. I kept on having fun with it, even when I had those moments where I was like, why am I competing? I feel like I suck. Like, I don't want to do this. I would just take a step back, kind of reevaluate the why, like when they tell us as teachers, remember your why. Like I would go back to that, and I would just go and think about like all the good times that I was having. Like even when I'm teaching new ladies and I'm making them laugh and we're making jokes while we're mid-roll, things like that. And that's what kind of kept me in it.
Yeah. I know that we met with competition, so I know you're involved in the competition scene. And so I think we both said that no gi pants was our first competition at purple belt. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes,
so
we did.
We were both the crazy ones saying, "Let's go."
Yeah, we were like, it's okay. Well, my very first blue belt tournament ever was Nogi Nationals, when American Nationals was held here. So I was like, you know what? If I did it as blue belt, like maybe just make it a tradition. Like it's just jump in and go.
I love
like,
it.
What was it, October that we did Nogi Pants?
It's been a minute. It feels like a lifetime ago.
I don't even remember. Like I literally just got my purple belt that July. Like I was probably like maybe 2 or 3 months into being a purple belt, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna go see. I'm gonna go see what I could do.
I think I had even less time. I was August. So.
We're just here. We're just happy to be here.
We're just happy to be invited, happy to be included.
Yeah. Well, and especially too, since a lot of those big tournaments aren't in Texas a lot. And like right now, I don't have it in my budget to fly out to Vegas and California to compete, or Florida, and all of those like huge tournaments. So if anything's ever in Texas, like I try to make sure to make it there.
Oh yeah.
Because that's actually doable for me.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's one coming up in Baton Rouge, which is the closest it has ever been to our area. So we're all wanting to go so bad. So,
Yeah.
but Pans isn't too, I say it isn't too far, but you could make it from where we are, in a car, but there's no way on God's green earth we could afford to go to Vegas. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
no, I see a lot of my friends like booking their plane tickets and like updating their registrations, and they're kind of calling me out like, Jackie, let's go. And I was like, I can't right now. like you don't understand, like my kid is going to be in high school band soon, so
oh
that's going to be a whole bunch of different budget that I have to
goodness,
work with,
yes.
like I'm going to have to be really picky about when I compete.
Yeah.
And two, I think competing for so long, so consistently, like I was really burnt out.
Mm.
Like after the matches at Nogi Pans, I was ready to kind of take a step back and let myself rest from just kind of being in that mode all the time.
Right, right. It is very physically and mentally draining as well.
Yeah. Yes.
The different levels of competition, which I've, stressed to some of the girls at our gym or people wanting to try, competition for the first time, is that at each level, it gets up to notch, so at the athleticism and the, I don't want to say white belt spaz, but, that crazy high intense energy is there, kind of makes up for the lack of technique for white belt and to some extent blue belt. But then at least what I've noticed with the purple belt is the technique is so much crisper.
Yes.
It is very methodical. And so you think you're safe and then all of a sudden, crap, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely a completely different experience than blue belt, like stepping into purple belt arena. And that's why like I was really glad that I was kept at blue belt for that amount of time. Because at one point, like people were giving me a lot of crap at tournaments. They're like, why are you still competing as a blue belt? And I was like, I know that this kind of standard for us competing belts is different as if we didn't. Like I already know that I have to be ready for a whole different level of competition purple belt roles rather than just going against any blue belt.
Right.
Not that it's bad, but it's completely different. Like the
Right.
technique is crisper, just like you said. Everything is so intentional, and I mean it is rougher, but it feels like it's so I can't even describe the word for it, because it is that other level that you get to as you move up each belt.
Oh yeah.
It's like these are the people that really know what they're doing.
Oh yeah. And especially when we were at, that Nogi Pan stage, that in and of itself is a whole other level above what you might get at a more local tournament or a smaller tournament bracket. It's
Yeah.
just, again, we were just gung ho. Let's jump in the deep end with some sharks real quick. So.
Yeah. And like again, especially that venue was pretty like I kind of had a chip on my shoulder walking into that venue because of my experience there at doing World's Nogi, because World's Nogi was at that same one. And the last time I was there, I was doing World's Nogi as a blue belt. And that was one of probably the worst tournament experiences I'd ever had. I had dropped lower in weight, but it was an extreme. It wasn't an extreme cut. I don't want to say it was a cut because I didn't do all of the weight all at one time. Like I tried to space it out as much as possible, but I went down to 120 pounds
Jeez.
to go to featherweight, because my coaches at the time were like, we think you would really perform better if you were against smaller girls. But I was I didn't feel strong. Like, and especially in that venue with how big it is, it almost feels like a big stage.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't perform well. That was also the day that like I got a phone call the night before, because I had stayed at a friend's house who was kind of more local, and so I could take my time in the morning and sleep in and get there on time. But I'd gotten a phone call that my mother was very sick and had just gone to the hospital, and she had been sick for a while. So like I was told, get ready to be home because we don't know what's going to happen. And her health had already been declining. So I'm over here thinking, am I gonna actually make my match, or should I just go ahead and go home, because I don't know if my mom's gonna live to see tomorrow or not.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of people is like would have been like, that's your mom, like just go. And at the time the hospital that she was in was still like very strict with COVID restrictions.
Oh yeah.
So nobody could be with her anyway. So it was just a waiting game, and I kept calling to see what was happening, and I just kept being told that she was comfortable and they were waiting for test results. So as long as I kept hearing that, I stayed, but I was like ready to go at the drop of a hat. So mentally I was all over the place too. And I went, and like looking back at the video footage, I can see all of the places where I was like mentally I wasn't there. Like I was it looked like I had stage fright, but I was just completely not with my head in the game. And I think it wasn't until the very last couple of like maybe 30 seconds or something into the match that I actually like got movement and attempted something, but it was just too late then. So the combination of the mental aspects of it, the physical, just exhaustion from trying to get lower in weight class and worried about making weight, it was an experience I didn't want to happen again.
Right.
At a competition wise.
Yeah. I mean, all that, you've got the mental anguish, and then you're already going to be in somewhat mental anguish because of the physical demands that you're putting. It's it's like a horrible spiral.
It was. And then I know after that, I took a break for like a couple of months, and I didn't compete again until the following March when the Dallas IBJJF had opened up. And by that time, I had worked with my trainer to move me up in weight, but build up my strength and just kind of be more comfortable at whatever weight I was walking at. Because I was like, I'm never going to drop a weight class again. Like, I'm just going to see where I'm at. I'm going to go and I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. Because I didn't want to put my body through that again.
No. And it's one of those things that, if it's a pound or two, that's one thing. But if it's a whole bunch of weight, I don't know. I know they do hydration tests and stuff like that in the UFC, MMA. I don't know if they don't really do that in the IBJJF. So you're weighing in right before you're getting up on stage. So it's not that kind of sanction cheating kind of thing you see sometimes with the UFC. But so when you're depleted, you're depleted. I mean, it is what it is.
And especially since even in like local tournaments that I've seen, like Jiu Jitsu World League or AGF, you have that option to weigh in that day, but like maybe first thing in the morning. So like I know a lot of people that actually prefer to do those tournaments because of that aspect. Right. Because they're not doing all this extreme stuff to make weight, and they weigh in like first thing in the morning, and then they have a good breakfast, they're hydrated, they're warm, and they're physically at their best. So like I'm a little bit jealous of them because of that aspect of those tournaments too. I wish IBJJF would do that.
Yeah, and that would be nice. Yeah,
it would be nice.
I know we have an AGF coming in Jackson. We're we don't have a lot of female purple belts, so we're all kind of on this group message board together, like, all right, are you coming? Are you not coming? And so it's going to end up being just an open weight category because none of us are the same weight. So.
And that's what I heard a lot too, that like as you go up in belt level, especially for women, a lot of times it's just going to be like, there's nobody competing at your level or your age or your weight. So it's kind of like a toss up. Like, do I even want to spend the money on registration fees just to go straight to open class or not?
Right. And that's the question, right? I mean, and so most higher belts that I've seen, they just do the IBJJFs because you have more consistent turnout for those. But I think the community is growing. I've seen a lot of girls come up, but they're not going to unless we're at black belt, at the same time, which is going to be several years.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a sparring partner on the arena floor, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But it sounds like so we got the competition still going. It sounds like we've are wanting to stay comfortable at our walking around weight, which is good. That's what I advise everyone to do. Do you have any other big competition plans this year? I mean, I know it's just the start of the year, but
this year I'm working on getting back in the competition scene after when we were at Nogi Pans. I was like, I'm gonna take a break. I'm probably gonna take as much time as I can to focus more on my coaching, because especially in the gym that I'm at, we don't have a lot of competitors, and we still don't have a lot of women yet. But especially with the kids, our kids group is pretty big. So I like that I can be a coach to all of these really young grapplers right now. So I wanted to focus more on that. And I just recently just started back training. I'd gotten a hand injury like New Year's Day. I went to open mat with my girlfriends because we were doing a ladies open mat. And I think I had gone in a kind of like diagonal side control that I was testing out. And I think I just pushed my thumb, or like my thumb extended too much. And I had a lot of rips in my ligaments and tears on that and the side of my hand. So like I was told I was very lucky and that the tears were small enough to scar over if I just left it alone. Like kept my hand in the brace, absolutely do not move it. No training for a month. So I'd been off the mats all of this time. And I like this was my first week actually being back on it and like flowing and drilling and getting back to it, which was great mentally, because I was like I missed it so much. And then physically I was just like, how am I this tired? Like, is this how I've usually felt and I just never fully realized it because I didn't take that much time off? I came home and I was so sore and I was like, I didn't feel like I did much. Like,
it's a different kind of tired if you don't
it
roll.
is.
Yeah,
it is. And like I know IBJJF Dallas, when I went to go look at it, it had already been full. So I signed up to be staff so I could at least be there, make money instead of spending money at tournaments. Like I figured I might as well get the other side of the coin too, which I did with Jiu Jitsu World League as well. And I think I'll probably look at Austin was already done. I'll probably look at the next time that they do a Houston one, an IBJJF. But I also, since I have so much other things in my life going on right now, that hasn't been like my huge focus on getting back onto the competition mats. I think for sure I'm gonna do one this year, just to kind of gauge and see where I'm at before Nogi Pants, because I think Nogi Pants is going to be in Texas again. That's what I heard, but I could be wrong.
I mean, from your mouth to God's ears, you know.
From my mouth to God's, I could like my teammate or not, my training partner. Sometimes I forget that we're not part of the same thing because we train with each other so much.
I got you.
She mentioned that she thought Nogi Pants was going to be here, and so we were talking about doing it together.
Yeah.
Which would be great. Like that would for sure be on the I'm going to do that one for sure this year.
Sure. Yeah. It'd be great if it happens. Yeah.
It would be. And this year would be yet another new bracket that I'm in because now I'm finally going to Master 2.
Really?
I wouldn't be a Master 1. Yeah.
I thought we were the exact same for whatever reason. I thought, well, I guess it's because we were both in the same bracket. That's why. So
we were both in the same bracket. Because
Yeah.
I know I kept hearing that the year that you turn 36, you're allowed to be in the Masters 2 division.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I'll be 36 in October.
Yeah.
So by that time, I'm pretty sure it'll be enough of a cutoff to where I can.
I would think
which
so.
Which was surprising that when I was just looking at the brackets and stuff for Austin, I saw a pretty good amount of Master 2 purple women. Awesome. And I was like, that's great, because when the last time I checked, there was nobody for Master 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so that had made me excited to see.
So they're all just going up, you know.
they're all just they're going up in age, they're going up in levels. And it's wild to me that I might not, encounter the same blues that I did because they're still so young. Like they had just turned 30. So they still have like another couple years to go.
Yeah.
Before getting to Master 2, but by then I'll probably already be at Master 3 or 4.
Well, I mean, yeah, that the age is definitely a factor in the styles of competition. That is for sure. So at least in the Masters Nogi, at least we're safe from heel hooks. So we can't heel hook. So
we can't heel hook. We can't knee bar, even though we can't do it. But I was just having this argument with one of my blue belt training partners because she absolutely does not want to do them at all, but even in the training room. And I kept on having the viewpoint of, but if you learn everything now, you'll be like so far ahead than when you do get that belt and then you're starting from scratch.
Right. Absolutely.
Every single higher belt female that I've ever spoken with, brown belt, black belt, they've all said, I wish I would have done heel hooks, knee bars, toe holds, all of this stuff a whole lot sooner rather than just starting it right now. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm taking that piece of advice and I'm applying it to myself so that I don't have that regret later.
Right. I mean, it's good to know, because if somebody is, even just messing around maybe in the gym, it's good to know, okay, this person is putting me in a dangerous spot. You need to learn that red zone when you are in a bad situation and to get out of it.
Yeah. And especially, a lot of these younger guys and girls that like watching these fancy Instagram clips and then go on YouTube and then go in the gym and want to try it, not really knowing kind of the safety rules of it, like only do this with higher belts, have that conversation before you roll, kind of thing. I feel like that's also a good defense for us, because we're going to know exactly what to do in the event that you can't stop them in time and say, hey, let's stop the roll and kind of talk about what you're doing, because I don't think you know the rules of this type of game.
Right. Yeah, because there's always going to be, I just learned this on YouTube. And before you have a chance to say anything, they've already gotten it. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. And it's like, we're not saying don't ever go on YouTube, because you can get really good videos of drills and like just movements you can rewatch over and over to drill it in your brain. And even just learning how to tie your belt, which for some reason a lot of people still need help with. Like, we're not saying don't do it. We're just saying be careful of what you implement based on what you watch.
Yes, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
It is. It is, especially when you apply it to guys with big egos and
Oh,
girls with big
yes.
egos.
Oh, yes. In general, avoid the egos, but I don't think we can always do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I think this kind of ties into your approach in teaching in jujitsu. I know that when we had talked and we met, we had found out we were both teachers. And I know you don't
Yes.
teach anymore, but I would love to hear, how does a teacher, like, how did that go with your students? Did they, like, was it a good release for you as far as the tension? Like, what was that balance like?
It was definitely, I mean, jujitsu's always been a major stress relief for me. I mean, mentally, it's helped me so much with like my anxiety, um my assertiveness too, like
Mhm.
kind of giving me that confidence from the person I was before. Um, but but yeah, like after a stressful day of teaching and just kind of dealing with behaviors and parents and administration and all of the stressors that all of us teachers know about, it was
Mhm.
great to just go and turn my brain off while we're rolling and just worrying about the physicality of the now and in the
Mhm.
moment stuff. Um, and my students absolutely loved it. There was actually many times where like students became my jujitsu students.
Really? What was that? What was that
Yes,
transition like?
that transition was wild because we would, and I would emphasize like there's going to be boundaries. Like Coach Jackie is here, and teacher Jackie is over here. Okay,
Hmm.
like there's going to be a line drawn, and then we'll go back to school the next day, and I'll hear, you guys want to hear how Miss Jackie completely choked me out last night? And I was like, can't say that. You need to give context.
Context.
And I'm like, at least your parents signed the waiver. Your parents knew exactly what was going on. It was a teaching moment. Now you know not to put your head there if you're shooting a double. It's just it's
Yeah.
education.
What
And
what grade did you teach?
I've taught so many grades
Oh goodness.
over the years. Like I've been in the special ed
Hmm.
department, with PPCD, CBI,
Hmm.
resource and content mastery, which is probably one of my favorites to teach because I taught resource and content mastery math.
Hmm.
Um, I did fifth and sixth grade computer science,
Hmm.
math intervention. I
Hmm.
did third grade self-contained. There was a teacher's class that I covered when she went on maternity leave, so I taught fifth grade math for
Okay.
like a semester. Um,
Amplify your career through training and development solutions specifically designed for federal government professionals. From courses to help you attain or retain certification, to individualized coaching services, to programs that hone your leadership skills and business acumen, Management Concepts optimizes your professional development. Online, in person, individually, or groups, it's training that's measurably better. Learn more at managementconcepts.com. That's managementconcepts.com.
A journal is a journey, a place to gather thoughts and become the best version of you. Papier creates thoughtfully crafted notebooks, journals, and more. Their curated journals cover themes like wellness, goals, and gratitude. Best of all, you can personalize each product for free. Put pen to paper and start your journey today with Papier. Visit papier.com for 10% off your first order. That's 10% off at papier.com.
at the time I met you, I was teaching third grade,
Okay.
self-contained, all subjects. But I think my favorite has always been math instruction.
Hmm. We deviate. I teach 11th grade literature. And so that would be a bit of a different interaction with the
Yeah.
students that they became. I'm trying to get the girls to come in because we've had a lot of issues with some sex trafficking in our area because we're right on a major interstate. And so I'm trying to encourage the girls, come on, it's fine. Let me know. I'll be there. It won't be awkward. But I live 30 minutes away from where I teach. So that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
It would be very awkward though if some of my guy students would show, hey, Coach Willis, what's up? I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God.
Some of the things that my students always like loved was when I had footage of like my matches at tournaments, and they'd be like, can we see it? Can we see it? And I would kind of make that like my reinforcer. Like if we get through the lesson and if everybody gets their classwork done, then I will put it at the very end of the day.
Yeah.
And so that was always fun, like catching their reactions to the things that were happening in my matches. And even they were like little cheerleaders and almost like little instigators too. Like, why'd you let her do that to you? And I was like, listen, unless you're there, you don't know what it's like. Okay.
Oh my goodness. I taught last year. My kids in 7th grade, they're in 8th grade now. They're still my babies. One of my students, she got me good. I said, oh, well, this is the girl, I went up against, and, I'm going to have a rematch against her. Oh, is she the one you keep losing to? Okay, you know what?
I hate when they do that.
You know
I hate
what?
when they do that, when they make it so personal.
But thankfully, we had it, it was all in fun, but I said, you know what? It's a 0 for the day. And that's it.
Yeah.
But
like you need to go to the calm down corner and think about your feelings and how you're making other people feel right now.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess getting on to the more serious side of the teaching, I guess this is a conversation because I've just known a lot of my friends who've been teaching have noticed some issues. And I know that this podcast isn't, about teaching, but we're both teachers. This is something we both know. I'd love to just get your thoughts on, I guess, since it is related to school safety. And what is that a reason why you've left? What are the problems that you're seeing just kind of safety wise for teachers?
I mean, safety wise for teachers, you do see so many threatening times, like not just to where you feel like you have to protect the children that you have, but also like protecting yourself from the children too. Like I can't tell you how many times, like even in upper grades, I would have to write referrals because of male students trying to be threatening or even like making verbal threats. And especially like in really small towns where everybody knows where you live, everybody knows which car is yours, things like that. It does kind of give a different feeling. Like these could be very big possibilities that happen. And I wouldn't say that that's one of the reasons I left. It was just more of the exhaustion of the career of being in it that kind of pushed me to go to another direction. But I mean, all of that stuff did add to the exhaustion a lot. And you'd be surprised, like even at elementary grades, how some of the younger students can be too. Like I would hear pretty young students, even in like I remember we were doing a school survey and I was going with the kids, explaining what each question meant so that they knew what to pick. And I remember there were safety questions that came about. And I remember one student said, well, I'm going to put that I don't feel safe with you because you tried to hit me. And I was like, what? And the fact that you said it out loud, which I'm kind of thankful for because everybody heard, everybody knows safety is such a big thing too. So they know that if you just use the right words, you can kind of get rid of somebody you don't want to be there anymore. And so it just kind of feels like no matter where you go, you're always going to have a little bit of a target on your back,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of crazy to me because, we're supposed to be there to be almost your second parent for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here because we want to be there and we want to teach and we want you to want to learn things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just, a lot of the things like that would just kind of put me to a place where I'm like,
Mm.
I don't know if this is where I want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
With how I question, am I going to walk into the school and is something going to happen today?
Yeah. And it's a sad state of affairs that, as teachers, we want to mold minds. We're not signing up for those kinds of issues,
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I'm blessed with where I am. It's, our school, it's safe, but there's still all around us. I'm hearing about shootings just down the road and we go on soft lockdown. It's just,
Yeah.
you just never know. And there's mostly what I deal with are just the typical behaviors, that's
Yeah.
not, but my cousin just started teaching this year, 5th grade math. So another math person, but
Yay.
it takes every kind of person to make the world work. If I were to teach math, something would explode. How? I don't know. But she is dealing with behavior problems that I never would have thought. Kids, making shanks, or throwing desks across the room at her. It's things where I'm just flabbergasted because it just seems so different from when I was growing up. And I sound like an old fart when I say that, but it's just not the same world. And I guess, I don't know how to explain it, but it just seems like they're trying, evil times out there, and you just got to keep your head on the swivel, it seems.
Yeah. And I think kind of coaching gives me that same fulfillment that
Mm-hmm.
teaching did, but in another level, since the kids that are on the mats that are there for a coach are wanting to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you do get some behaviors, but it's most of the time, at least for me, and I'm blessed with this, that it's more just like an attention thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I know you're sitting next to your friend, you want to play around, but like, come on, it's time to be serious, and we're going
Mm-hmm.
over this right now for drills, or because you have a competition coming up, so you
Mm-hmm.
gotta have your head in the game. But that feels a lot different coaching kids that genuinely want to get better, that want to learn, that want to keep going with it, rather than, kids that are sitting in a classroom and they don't want to put in the effort. They don't want to learn what you're planning to teach for the day because they don't understand how it actually applies to them, because they're just going to be a YouTube star, or they
Mm-hmm.
just know that they're going to take over the family business. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all that they need to know.
Yeah, I think that is just a wonderful ability for you to get your teaching, fulfillment with kids that are legitimately wanting to learn something. I think that's a great point for, any teacher that, it's when you're wanting to leave the career, you were in it because you wanted to impact people. And so it's, trying to find a way to leave an impact if you realize, okay, teaching may not be what I'm doing for the rest of my life. So what do I do now? And I guess with jiu-jitsu and you being a higher belt, you found a place to naturally transition those skills.
Yes.
And I would think, with math, it's so, I don't want to say formulaic, but that's the only word I can come up with. You have a pattern that, or a system that works, to get to the right answer. And probably the same thing can be said about, obviously, jiu-jitsu is not formulaic but I would think the way that you might approach teaching math might help with teaching jiu-jitsu. Am I just really making a big leap here? Am I?
Oh, I don't think so, because it is very strategic. you have to have strategy. And I was just talking about this because my neighbor is actually one of my old students.
Ah.
So when I pulled up one day after work, she was like outside holding her backpack, and she was walking towards my house, and she's just like, "Can you really help me with this math homework? I'm really struggling." I'm like, "Okay, like I have some time. I was gonna be home Friday night. Like, come in, we'll do it." And she's showing me all of these things, and she's showing me her notes as to how her teacher is telling her to solve the math problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so I immediately go into like looking at the strategy, looking at how she's wanting to approach this, and seeing like, okay, I think I would teach this a different way. And I mean, that's exactly how it was at the tournament today. And I was like, I see that you're doing this move, but really you could have just stapled the bottom leg first and then windshield wiper, and then you could have just like completely passed that leg. So it is kind of the same concept, because there's so many different ways to get the answer that you have to think about every possible way. And so it is, I mean, it is relatable. I feel like it is relatable. It's not such a huge leap about it, because as a math teacher, like that was one of the things that I stressed so much. It's like, I don't care how you get to the answer, as long as you show me exactly what you did, because every single step is going to count. And that's a lot like jiu-jitsu. Every single step counts. Every placement, every application of pressure, everything counts, because we all know that one little thing can be off, it just ruins the entire thing.
That's I like that. That's a good way to think about it. I like
it. Yeah. And I think as teachers, we kind of have like the leg up in jiu-jitsu instruction, because we already live in that mindset of, how can we teach this to a room full of students that all learn in different ways. So like we're already naturally differentiating all the time. And I felt like that's what I do a lot as a coach. And I know the women in my gym have told me this many of times, that they can hear the black belts and the men that usually do the instruction, and they'll kind of conjugate and go over to me, and they're like, "Can you kind of like go over what they said?" And then I'll make the little changes in tone, in vocabulary, in demonstration, and then they feel like they learned it in a completely different way, but they understood it. So that's the approach I take to it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's very similar feedback I get if I'm ever paired with somebody who's it's their first or second day. They say, "Oh, what do you do for?" I said, "Oh, I'm a teacher." "Okay, I can tell. I thought it was something like that." I said, "Yeah."
One of my favorite things, and that one of my training partners said, you totally know you're like a teacher, is when I was teaching the little kids in basics class how to sprawl. Like I tried to emphasize really landing on the hip, and with the way that your feet land, I kind of tell them to think of a mermaid tail. Like your Ariel just sitting on the rock, looking at Eric on the beach, like all that stuff. And then they would just get it down like right away after that.
Boom.
So it's just those little things that you kind of have to incorporate. No matter how silly they sound, it's going to click for somebody eventually. And they'll always remember it, which is pretty much the goal. Like you want to always remember that that's how you're supposed to do it.
I like that. I may see if we can implement that in our when we drill sprawls. Mermaid.
Yeah, mermaid tail. I'm like, you don't want to land on your knees. You want to land on the side, on the head.
Oh yeah, that's how I messed up my knee. We had I tried jiu-jitsu like in college. It didn't stick because they didn't tell me how to sprawl, and so I messed up my knee for the second time. And I just the bursa in the knee. My knee was the size of like a watermelon. A bit hyperbole there, but I was like, nope, I can't do this. And so I just think if I could have just mermaid tail that long ago, where would I be today?
It's amazing the things that we think about that just like, if I would have known that years ago, it would have made such difference.
Mm-hmm. But, it would, as I've been told by some wiser family members that, if you had made a different decision back then, you wouldn't be the same person you are today, so.
Which is always true.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you work a lot, I'm hearing with the kids class, it sounds like, and with women. What are some ways, or not ways, but some advice you might give for women who are interested in trying jujitsu? Or what are you seeing as some common sticking points for women with jujitsu, trying it, getting in the door?
I think the main thing would be to keep going, even if you're the only girl in class, which is probably one of the hardest things that we can tell women, especially if they're wanting to do jujitsu because of their experiences with men, which is definitely one of the reasons that I had started, just with my history of past assaults, past trauma. That aspect of training with men was just terrifying to me. And I was lucky at the time that we had.
Febreze is a proud partner of Can't Cancel Pride. However you choose to express yourself, Febreze has the perfect scent to make your home even more fabulous in your own unique way. Have an amazing Pride from Febreze.
When you save on auto insurance for driving safe with USAA Safe Pilot, you'll feel like a big deal, even in a traffic jam. Save up to 30% with USAA Safe Pilot. Restrictions apply.
Maybe like 2 or 3 women at the gym at that time that I would like regularly work with. And then slowly, they would give me advice like, this would be a really good person for you to drill with. And then slowly, get to know, and then like slowly increase your intensity level with it. So there's always that path to go to, especially, when you're scared of like, I'm just going and I'm just going to be wrestling with a whole bunch of guys like that. Like it's intimidating. Yes. And it can be scary, but it can also be very rewarding. The more you do it, the more you feel better about yourself and your abilities. There's always less fear every single time. And I was just watching a video about this. I don't know if it was this morning or last night, but there was somebody, who was asking that question: what advice would you have for women in jiu-jitsu, since it's such a male-dominated sport?
Right.
And it was just keep going, even if you're the only female in the gym, because eventually more women will come, and then you're gonna be that woman that you wish you had when you started. So in a way, like, you're always going to be the one that's going to pave the way for others to come and join.
That's really good. A good reflection on if you are the only female in the gym. I think that's great advice. Just keep coming, keep showing up.
Keep showing up. And one of the things I emphasize too, especially to all the new women that I have, if you don't want to roll with somebody, then just say no. Pick a drilling partner and just drill, or say that I want to work on this, and then just drill repeatedly. If usual training partners are unavailable at the point, because I always think it's kind of a red flag if somebody forces you to spar with somebody that you obviously don't want to and are saying no to. But that's one of the biggest things that I always emphasize to the women. Like, say no, do only what you are comfortable with at the time, because it's not a it's not a fast process.
Mm-mm.
If you are really going to be in it for years, you're going to have all this time to build your knowledge and build your skill set, and you'll be able to roll just like that in your due time. And it's going to be there, but absolutely don't rush it. Especially don't rush anything that involves your own comfort level.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's something, and I'm so glad our coach makes that same, kind of rule that you have the right to say no, guys included, but we have a lot of, we have a teens and, adults class, we're all together. And so he stresses the teens can say no. The girls can say no. Guys, you can too. They normally never do. But, if you don't want to roll with someone, you don't have to. And that's not, and he says, don't take it personally. They may need that round. Maybe they can't go at your intensity level or yada, yada, yada. Right. And I think that's very, because some, at least here, because Texas is the South, it's, here in the South, we don't want to seem like rude, like, oh, well, yeah, sure, why not? And then you're forcing yourself to do something you're not comfortable with. It could be
Exactly.
and it's hindering your progress because the entire time you're internally just flipping out and just really worried. And it's not really benefiting you. But I like that idea of, hey, well, I don't want to roll, but I do want to drill. And that immediately for somebody gives them the option of, is this an ego thing where they're just trying to smash the girl or do something, not very helpful? Or, hey, yeah, that's great. We can work on this and refine it. Because sometimes my best, drilling rounds are with these giant guys where the only option I have is I've got to get really good at this one particular guard to alleviate that pressure or something,
Yeah.
So there's different ways to approach it, drillers make killers, they say.
Yeah. And especially, like, I know starting out, I was very lucky in having great training partners and ones that looked out for me. And now that I moved up and I'm in, a position where I do take in anybody that's new, especially if they're female, and kind of give them the ins and outs and stuff of the gym, I'll take that responsibility on myself just because that's the kind of person I am, where I'll pick their partners for them. Be like, hey, I like go with me first, and then I want you to go with Rachel. I want you to go with Robin. Like these would probably be like really good partners for you. And I would kind of be that guide to ease that transition for them. And then eventually they get comfortable enough to where they're going and they're picking their own drilling partners. And I tell them up front, like, this is what I like to do in order to get every woman comfortable in their movements, comfortable in, their own abilities, and then letting you kind of figure out what you want to do. And so far, I mean, it's worked. Thankfully, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we have 6 kind of dedicated women now.
That's awesome.
that are at our gym. And even though it's a huge number of men still, it's still a whole lot more than, the years where it was just me. So like that still makes me excited.
Yeah. Well, it's a slow female jujitsu. It's slowly growing. I was at a Christina Barlon. She was on the show not long ago. And she had a seminar in Jackson essentially, and we had I think 40 women on the mats. So it's it's getting bigger. Every time we have some kind of event, I'm noticing there's more girls. Yay!
Yes, that's one of the things I loved about my friend, the one that I coached today. She and her best friend started Sisterhood of the Traveling Gi.
I love it.
And they, they have a website where they post all like women's led classes, women's only classes, women's open mats. They host open mats. I've gone to a lot of the ones that my friend Maria has set up in the DFW area. And then every time we go, it's just this great energy of all of us females just getting together and talking about jujitsu and doing jujitsu. And I believe they actually have the lady you just mentioned,
Christina.
Christina. I believe they're having her for a seminar here.
Oh, that's awesome. You should go.
So
you can go.
I mean, I'm definitely going to go. Because I'm always at their events. I love what they do. And the way that they sponsor women and children who want to compete or like cover their gym membership fees. And that's where all donations go to, is to that scholarship fund. Like I love that whole aspect of it. And so it's always great to see all of those women come to those open mats and just have a good time. And that's one of the ways that I kind of build my skill level too as a competitor, because especially with these, most of the people that go are competitor women. And so I really stress the newer students and even the younger students, like, even if you want to go and don't want to roll, that's okay, but at least go watch. Because watching upper belt women doing jujitsu is just awe-inspiring. Like,
it's beautifully dangerous. Beautifully dangerous.
It's beautifully dangerous. I'm excited that they're gonna have an open mat in my gym, because
that's awesome.
my female younger competitors in my kids classes, they're really excited because they don't see adult women besides me doing jujitsu. So everybody's like really excited to just come and actually see it in their eyes for the first time.
Well, that's awesome. And I think that's another reason I want to get more women, is that it really is a good sisterhood. It's not one of those hokey, like Disney, phrases. They're like, oh, it's so wonderful. But I don't know. It's something about you form a strong bond through shared murder on the mats.
Yeah. I mean, some of my best, relationships and friendships have come from like women that have absolutely beat the tar out of me. That's just how it's been. And even like I feel like the competitors too, most of us are very open and kind and friendly. I feel like I've been lucky where I haven't gotten the mean girls in the competition scene. I haven't come across it. Like, I've always had really great conversations and connection with everybody that I've met. Yeah, especially on the tournament mats.
Yeah, I've not had anyone, I may have run into, some sportsmanship issues, but never like not had that experience.
Yeah, so. a couple sportsmanship issues. I mean, thankfully nothing too outlandish that I've encountered, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it's almost like that weird, like it's either one or the other. Like you either like form this great connection and you wind up being friends, or like you just bump hands and you never see each other again.
Right. Yeah.
But either way, it's completely fine.
Oh, like, yeah. About to say, I think it's just a great sport, and I think if nothing else, it teaches you as an individual what you're capable of. It's giving you that difficulty that you have to find a way out of. And, I think that once you realize, hey, I can survive, somebody trying to choke the life out of me, it's just like, you know what, I'm invigorated. I can take on the rest of the day. So.
Yeah, you do have like that boost in yourself, even when you feel like you don't do as well as you should have. You still went out there and did it. There's something to be said about that.
For sure. For sure. And even if you didn't do that great, sometimes a brand new person walks through the doors and you get a reminder of, nope, I can handle myself. So.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, goodness. Goodness. Well, anything else you want to let our viewers know about, or anything you want to end on?
I mean, I think that covers a pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, we covered through a lot.
we did. But yeah, I mean, it was great talking to you. It's been a minute. I follow you on the
Yes.
Instagram. So
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and that thumb that you injured, tell me that wasn't the writing hand. Was that the writing hand?
Thankfully, it was
Oh,
my
good.
left one.
Oh,
Oh
good.
my goodness. I can't, like, everybody's like, at least it's not your right hand. And I'm like, I know it wasn't my writing hand, but I swear it was so difficult just not
Oh,
having one thumb at all.
you're just like a
Like,
cat,
just,
like pawing at stuff.
yes, especially with the brace, with my hand like being permanently cupped and not being able to move it,
Mm.
like because the stabilizer goes into like part of the wrist
Oh,
too. So
sure.
it was like, it was just that was a miserable month for me.
Jeez.
and I was just itching to be back.
I
Like,
can imagine.
and I knew that if I tried to go and like coach kids classes, that I would probably try to be like, well, I could drill, I could flow, but then I was like, no, I can't risk it. I don't have my health insurance yet through my new employer, so I'm not even going to.
Right.
Not even going to.
I think that was a wise decision, because I
Yeah.
understand that struggle of, oh, I'll just watch. I'm sick, but no, well, here, why don't we do this, guys? Why don't we do next thing you know?
And it's amazing that was, I don't know if amazing is the right word, but that's actually the longest I've been off the mats with a jujitsu related injury.
Oh, well,
Like,
I mean,
that like, knock on wood, that's been my worst so far, because the breaks I've had in my ankle and foot were not from jujitsu at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were from roller skating and a fall in my kitchen.
Oh.
Yeah. When those injuries happened, people were like, oh, that wrestling stuff finally got to you, huh? And I'm like, nope, it happened completely off of it. It was from roller skating and trying to live out my roll bounce dreams, but they did not happen.
My goodness. Well, the kitchen floor is also very hard to submit. So, I mean, I think it's beaten more people. So,
I mean, I have no problem tapping to it. It's like, I'd rather get up and walk and, live another day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad we got to talk. Maybe we can talk again sometime. And if Nogi Worlds or Pans comes to Dallas again, I will be in your neck of the woods. So
that would be great.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, have a great rest of your evening, and thank you for talking with me.
Thank you for having me on. I hope we talk again soon.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Yeah. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Febreze is a proud partner of Can't Cancel Pride. However you choose to express yourself, Febreze has the perfect scent to make your home even more fabulous in your own unique way. Have an amazing Pride from Febreze.
Zaza Music Festival, the most anticipated summer event, is coming to Bader Field in Atlantic City on July 15th and 16th. Latto, DaBaby, Remy Ma, Freeway, Beanie Siegel, Coi Leray, Coco Jones, and more. Plus, the world premiere of the new Burna Boy Breakfast Metaverse series, with more artists to be announced. Tickets are on sale now at ZazaFestivals.com. Get your tickets before they're gone. Visit ZazaFestivals.com for more info about the VIP experience and the full lineup. ZazaFestivals.com.